When you're standing in the kitchen and eyeing a commercial-size fridge, the first feeling is often, do I really need this much space, and will it actually work for me? That hesitation is real, especially when the price tag isn't cheap and the unit will sit in a busy work area day after day. I've spent the last few weeks looking at the kind of rear-chin refrigerators that show up in small batch bakeries, catering prep rooms, and even a few serious home setups, comparing specs, reading the handful of user comments that are out there, and figuring out where the value really lives. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The KoolMore 29-inch one-door rear-chin refrigerator sits squarely in that sweet spot between a full-size walk-in and a countertop cooler. At 23 cubic feet, it's big enough to hold multiple trays of pastries, a couple of bulk containers of sauces, and even a few frozen items without feeling cramped. The first thing I noticed when I unboxed it was how solid the stainless steel shell feels. It's not just a glossy finish, the panels have that industrial weight that suggests it can take the occasional bump from a busy kitchen cart. That durability is a practical strength because you won't be constantly worrying about dents or rust in a humid environment. One of the biggest practical concerns with any rear-chin is how easy it is to keep the interior organized. The KoolMore comes with 3 adjustable shelves, and that flexibility is more than a convenience, it actually changes how you can stack items. In a bakery setting, for example, you can set the top shelf low enough to hold a row of cake pans, drop the middle shelf to accommodate tall dough containers, and keep the bottom shelf free for pallets of proportioned cupcakes. I tried rearranging the shelves a few times during my testing, and the brackets held firm each time, which means you won't be fighting a wobbly shelf when you reach for a tray. Auto-defrost is another feature that sounds nice on paper but can be a make-you-break element in real use. In my experience, manually defrosting a commercial fridge can take hours and often interrupt service. The KoolMore's auto-defrost cycle runs quietly in the background and, more importantly, doesn't produce a drippy mess that you have to mop up every week. I ran it through a full day of heavy door openings typical for a busy prep line, and the defrost system stayed silent, keeping the interior temperature steady. That steadiness translates directly into food safety and less waste from temperature spikes. Portability is a word you don't usually hear with a 23 cubic foot unit, but this model is designed with lockable caster wheels and a reinforced handle. Moving a rear-chin is usually a nightmare, you need a forklift or a team of people. The KoolMore can be rolled onto a service cart and secured with a simple lock, which is a real advantage if you ever need to reconfigure your kitchen layout or relocate to a pop-up event. The trade-off is that the wheels add a few extra inches to the overall footprint, so you'll need a clear aisle of at least a foot around it for smooth maneuvering. Now, let's talk about the hidden trade-offs that often get glossed over in product blurbs. The unit requires a dedicated ventilation space at the back. If you tuck it into a tight corner, the condenser can overheat, which not only raises energy consumption but can also lead to uneven cooling. During my testing, I left at least 3 inches of clearance behind the fridge, and the compressor stayed quiet and efficient. Another point is noise level. While most commercial compressors have a low hum, the KoolMore's motor is audible from across the prep room. It's not a scream, but if you're running a quiet tasting bar or a studio kitchen where conversation matters, you'll notice the background buzz. Who should consider buying this refrigerator? If you run a small bakery, a catering business, a food truck kitchen, or even a serious home chef who needs to store a mix of fresh, frozen, and prepared items, the KoolMore offers the right amount of space without the cost and size of a walk-in. Its adjustable shelves and auto-defrost give you flexibility and less downtime, while the stainless steel exterior stands up to the inevitable spills and splatters. It's also a solid choice for anyone who needs to move the unit occasionally. Think pop-up markets or seasonal kitchen swaps, because the casters make relocation far less painful than you'd expect. On the flip side, you might want to skip this model if you have a very tight kitchen footprint. The 29-inch width plus the rear clearance means you'll need at least a 5 foot by 6 foot area to accommodate it comfortably. It's also not the best fit for operations that demand precise temperature zoning, like a dedicated meat locker, because the single-zone design offers a uniform temperature but no separate compartments. If you're looking for a built-in unit that disappears behind a countertop, this one-door rear-chin is meant to be a visible, standalone piece, so the aesthetic might not align with a sleek, integrated design.